Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. So we are on episode 3 and 4 of Yuri on Ice, rewatching this series. Oh, I'm so excited. So yeah, I got my blanket. I'm just like all cuddled up. I got my juice. I'm ready to go and watch this. It's been a lot of fun rewatching the first 2 episodes, and just this series, it really takes its time, the very first couple of episodes, to ease you into the whole skating thing. Like, we get previews of it in episode 1. In episode 2, we kind of established that you gotta have a certain physique for it, that there's all these other elements to it, but we don't really fully see it in action until this episode. So I'm really glad that y'all are on board with rewatching this series for me. I've had a bunch of people ask in the Discord, would I rewatch other series? I would like to. Am I gonna rewatch like an entire 400 episode series? No, probably not. Am I gonna rewatch all of Bleach? God, no. I don't think I have the time and patience to do that. I do eventually want to do like a video on some other shows, but there are some short series that I've watched that I would like to rewatch. And we'll probably talk more about it at the end of Yuri on Ice, like when that would happen again. But I do like this idea of kind of rewatching and talking about these series that I've seen already, especially the shorter ones like Yuri on Ice, where it's only like 10 to 12 episodes. So it's nice to do it in like little 2-episode chunks. Like, that's a lot of fun. So we'll talk more about that. But yeah, I'm pretty excited because episode 3 and 4 is like getting into like the very first skating competition, and the first time that Yuri gets to show his EROS. It's like, yes. And the training between him and Yurio, I'm really excited. I like the dub a lot. I've tried to get subtitles on the dub here with the Blu-ray, but it's not wanting to do it. So maybe once I start, I'm going to play around with it once it starts, the very first few seconds after we get past the OP, and then see if it'll let me do subtitles. But if it won't, I'm sorry if I'm watching the English dub and y'all can't have subtitles. I'm really sorry, but I tried. I've got the Blu-ray in right now. I tried on Crunchyroll. It wouldn't let me do it on Crunchyroll, so I'm going to try on this one and see what happens. But I'm pretty excited, y'all, to get into these 2 episodes and to like just basically rewatch them. It's like such a comfort show. I finished the last 2 episodes and I was like, man, I want to watch all of them now. So it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard not binging. It really is going to be hard not binging this series because I could do it so easily. But yeah, that's all right. So we're going to watch the next 2 episodes. I got my Cowboy Bebop blanket, got my juice. I'm ready to watch Yuri on Ice with y'all and savor the goodness. So yeah, I am going to take a couple notes though, because I can, at this point, take some notes. I've already seen the show, so it's not like I'm going to miss anything. But yeah, I do want to take some notes whilst we look through this. But yeah, and just go from there. So I hope you all enjoy this rewatch and discussion. But we're going to start Yuri on Ice episodes 3 and 4. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh man. These episodes were so good. These episodes were great. They were great because they're actually, of all the episodes there's only 12 episodes in this season. And of all the episodes, you could argue the 3rd and 4th are probably like the least, they're probably some people I can see arguing they're the least exciting because they're just build-up episodes, but I think they lay like the most solid foundation for where these characters are going to go to for the next 8 episodes. Like the next 8 episodes and their journey through all the cups and competitions and how their performances develop and grow. Like these 2 episodes absolutely are just laying that foundation of how they're going to change and alter. And episode 3, that whole thing about the story of the playboy and the seductress, and how Yuri realizes he's like, I'm not the playboy. Victor can pull off being the playboy, but he's like, that's not me. He's like, I'm the partner that seduces the playboy. And it's like, yes, that's so perfect. And I love how it changes him it's basically foreshadowing before we even get to episode 4 of Yuri taking something that is given to him and a role that is given to him, and how he's like, no, that's not me, and then ends up tweaking it and making it his own. Because it's kind of reflected in episode 4. In episode 4, he talks about with the free program that he never knew what music to use. He didn't never know what choreography to use, so he let other people choose it for him, and he just tried to mold himself to fit other people's representations of what he is. And he's like, no, that doesn't fit me. So then with this, he's like, I can't be the playboy. I have to be the woman that seduces the playboy. And so it's like, yes, I love that he tailors it. He gains that self-confidence and tailors the story to fit him. And, you know, you can make it a reference of, okay, is it representing like his and Victor's relationship? Like, yeah, I could try to go this route that we think I should go along, but it's not going to work. Instead, I got to choose this and follow my heart. It's like, is it talking about their relationship status, or is it talking about just the story and the performance? You can take it a lot of different ways. But I love that it's kind of like a foreshadowing of how Yuri, once he's confident and is able to choose things for himself, it is so much better than just him trying to fit a mold that does not work for him, right? I really love that. I like that Victor tries to tell Yurio, he's like, you need to skate with your, skating is about emotionality, not thinking. It's like, okay, that explains, like, Victor's like, I always just skate with emotion, and then I don't think about it. I just let the emotions flow, and that guides me through the story, right? So he's very similar to Yuri in that regard. He's more into the emotionality of it than the tech side of it. Victor's a great representation of he's as good as Yurio is at the tech, but he has the emotionality of Yuri, and it's like, And I'm hoping if they do a season 2 that we actually get to see Yuri and Victor skate against each other to see, okay, well, how do we pull it off? Because I feel like Victor is better with the tech side of it, and Yuri may be better at the program side of it. So it'd be cool to see them face off against each other. But I don't know. We don't see Victor skate a lot to know for sure. We know he's good. He's like a national gold medalist, so he has to be one of the best. But it's such a tease because the story's like, we're not going to exactly show you how Victor skates. We're going to save that for Ice Adolescents. We're going to save that for the movie that's never coming out. Come on, Mappa. And then we obviously have the big iconic, the pork cutlet bowls equal EROS. That's his EROS. It's like the pork cutlet bowls. That's really Victor is the representation of that, right? I do love in episode 3 that we get this show, like I said in the last set of episodes, they talk about the body issue thing with Yuri, and they basically tackle the whole body issue thing with him as a figure skater in the first couple episodes. And then in episode 3, we do get the training montage. And I like that they make Yuri and Yurio have very distinct body types. Their body types, when you see them training next to each other, are not the same. They do look different. They're not like cookie cutter characters. They look different, right? I also like that Nishigori and Yuko each help them. I like Nishigori helps Yuri and Yuko helps Yurio. I like that you have those two like helping them train as well. And then Victor does have a thing where he drinks a lot. He drinks a lot and eats a lot. And he kind of just like goofs off, you know, and taking the coaching job in that form. And he gets forgetful because of it. Like, Victor's not perfect. I like that this series doesn't make Victor out to be this like paragon of virtuous coaching, like he's this perfect being. No, he gets drunk, he gets late for work, he goofs off sometimes, he's not the best coach at times. Like, Victor's not perfect, he's flawed, and that makes him human and more relatable, and I like that. But then, of course, we have Minako helping dance the choreography to show him how to dance like a woman. I love that. I love that he's just like, no, this fits me better. Like, in the relationship, he's the uke in the relationship, definitely. Yuri is the uke, and Victor is definitely the seme in this relationship. But not that that's a bad thing, right? Not that that's a bad thing. I also like that Yuko is super supportive of him, and Yuko's really supportive of Yurio. Like, Yuko constantly tries to become Yurio's friend in this, and Yurio's like, what are you doing here? Who's this chick watching? And by the end of it, by episode 4, this chick watching is texting you in Russia back and forth. It's like, okay, Yurio, sure. Yurio is such a tsundere. He wants to deny having these connections, but then he becomes friends with Yuko, and it's like, okay, right? And Yurio saying, my favorite part about the first performance we see of Yurio doing the agape is when he says, just end already. Like, it's so great to see where Yurio comes from. And Yakov kind of talks about in the next episode that Yurio never really had much competition. He was always just really good. So he kind of had plateaued and hit this point where he thought he was the best of the best. And Yuri in the competition at the Hotsetsu was like a slap to the face, like a wake-up call of, no, you're not as good as you think you are. You've got lots of room to improve. And so I love Yurio in that original skate where he's just like, just end already. Like, he's not feeling it. He's found what his agape is. It's his grandpa, but he hasn't spent enough time with it to get that emotionality, to let it sink in, to let it like root itself in his choreography. He hasn't had enough time to do all of that. And so he's just like, he's like, I know I'm better than this, but I'm just not feeling it. And it's like, like, it's very relatable, right? It's very relatable. And so the worst part is Yurio is so down on himself. He thinks he's not good, that he could do so much better, and that he's like wasted all this time. But then the crowd and the reporter saying like, what a masterful performance. And it just shows how Yurio, his mentality of how he views himself and knows his own limits and knows how much better he could be versus how the public perceives you. So it's a nice commentary about how I think a lot of us often, we put ourselves down a lot and we're like, oh, well, that could have been so much better. And we don't see that the outside world is looking at that going, oh, that was great. And we're like, oh, that could have been so much better. Like, we're our harshest critics, right? We're the harshest critics to ourselves. And again, just like that line of just end already and you're better than this, you have Yuri saying, so watch, won't you? Like in episode 1, he told Yuko, he's like, please watch me, like begging her to watch this performance. And here with Victor, he's like, so watch, won't you? Like still kind of begging, but just it's getting a little bit better. And I'm waiting for, I think it's episode 5. It's episode I think it's episode 6 or 7 where he's like, watch me. And I'm like, ugh, I'm waiting for that moment because that's one of my favorites in the whole series where he's like got his forehead pressed against Victor's and he's like, watch me, don't take your eyes off me. And I'm like, the English voice actor does such a good job with that line. There's so many moments. I didn't want to talk much during the reaction because I wanted to just sit here and watch Yuri on Ice. I was like, usually for reaction, I'm trying to talk or if I see something that I want to comment on. But here I was like taking notes being like, I just want to watch this. I just want to sit here and watch it and just soak it in again, right? But yeah. And then his whole thing about loving pork cutlet bowls. And Victor saying, oh, I love pork cutlet bowls too. It's like, yeah, you love each other, you fools. But yeah, the seductress versus the playboy. And again, I want to make note that at the very end of the performance, when Victor is very distinctly different with his response to Yurio versus Yuri. Because when Yurio got done, even though Victor was watching, even though Victor probably saw all of the errors that Yurio saw, Victor was like, oh, great, that was the best performance yet. You did great. And we don't see him like nagging Yurio at all. We just see him go, oh, that was a really good performance. Great job. But then when Yuri comes around, he's like, what was that? You messed up this, you messed up that, you messed up that. Because he knows, one, that Yuri can take it and he wants Yuri to improve. And I think that just the way he handles Yuri as a coach is much different than Yurio. And I thought that was really neat to you kind of just see it, right? But that iconic whistle where Victor's like, whoo, where he's like, does that first little, Yuri does that first little wink and he's like, whew, does that, so iconic. And then we have our short routines established. So Agape versus Eros. We have it set, we have it established. It's all ready to go. I'm so excited because that was the one thing going into this. I was like, oh, so are we going to see these routines over and over again? And again, you'd think that would get boring, but they develop and they evolve and they change just a little bit at a time as the show goes on to where you want to see how it's going to alter and develop. And it's so good. So good, right? But that was episode 3. And then we cut to episode 4. I like that Victor's dog, is it Mochi? Mochi-jin is sleeping with Yuri now. First the dog, right? First the dog. And then we establish how scoring works with figure skating. That you have your part of your scores based on tech and part of your scores based on the presentation. And Victor basically does tell Yuri the same thing he told Yurio back in the junior high qualifiers. He's like, you don't have to have all these crazy jumps. You can win without them, right? And he tries to tell Yuri that, but Yuri wants to, I like that we're getting to where Yuri wants to challenge himself. He wants the challenge. He wants to try it, right? And so we go throughout episode 4. Episode 4 may be one of my least favorite episodes, but it's still one of the most important episodes because it establishes Yuri how he was in the past with having very little self-confidence, letting other people choose things for him, whether they fit or not, and then just trying to mold himself to other people's expectations. Whereas by the end of the episode, he's like, no, this is how I want to do it. This is what I'm going to do. And he is more in control of his own, life, which is great. And so we cut to Gilistino, his former coach from Detroit, him being on the phone with him, talking about him not being confident in the decisions that he's making. and how Yuri wants to make Gilistino proud. Gilistino's a little bit questionable about Victor being a coach. Everybody seems a little questionable about Victor being a coach. I can't wait till we get to Chris. Chris being like, oh, Victor, the skating rink's not been the same without you. It's like, I love it so much. I can't wait till we get to Chris. It's just, I'm so ready. But I forget in this series how much I love Mira. Mira is an absolute delight. She's the female figure skater that gives Yurio a really hard time. And I freaking love Mira. I love that she's like, I'm just 3 years older than you. And she like lifts him up over her head. And I like that Yakov's like, what is this? Are you doing pair skating? And they're like, no. Again, if season 2 was Victor and Yuri becoming a pair skating couple, I'd be fine with that. If Odebek and Yurio became a pair skating couple, I'd be fine with that. Obviously, they can't because they're not Odebek and Yurio from different countries. But, you know, what if Odebek moved to Russia? No one's stopping him. So, right. I don't know. I love Odebek and Yurio together. So, if they were couples skate along with Yuri and Victor, I'd be fine with that. But I like that Yakov says that Yuri was Yurio's wake-up call. He's like, yeah, Yurio was not feeling any competition, and this was the first sign that, yeah, he's going to have competition, and Yuri's going to give him a run for his money. And it's like, okay. And then we have Lilia showing off, the prima ballerina who's going to make Yurio sell his soul and retrain his body, and she just happens to be Yakov's ex. And it's like, okay, yep, we're not getting back together. And the moment she said that in the show, I was like, you're getting back together by the end of this. It's like, you guys are going to get back together by the end. Like, you just know it's going to happen, right? But Yuri, I like that Yurio, while he's developing his own routine, I like that, that in the meantime, he texts Yuko and keeps her up to date. I love that little friendship that blooms. And it's very subtle. It's off screen. Like, you see how Yurio is just kind of like, with Yuko at first, but she's so supportive of him. And that's the thing. Like, Yurio is very much like, okay, if you're supportive of me, fine. We can be friends, right? And so I love that he went from being like, who's this chick here, to like texting her and giving her information and her texting him back and like them supporting each other. I really love that. So yeah, Yuri develops his own routine and he's like, man, I've never had to do this before, but Victor has faith that I can do it, and that gives me confidence. And he talks to Peachit, who's in Bangkok. I love Peachit. He's such a good friend. He's so sweet. I love Peachit. He's great. I get excited when he pops up in the show because he's like this big ray of sunshine. Like when we get to the Rings episode, Peachit is just on another level, but he's just so good. But then, yeah, I forgot this is the episode that we have Yuri screaming, what? Like in the English dub. I forget what he does in the Japanese dub, but in the English dub, him being like, what? As loud as he can, and Victor being like, oh yeah, you don't have a love life. Whoops. Like that's so good. He's like, just imagine that you're getting your girlfriend saying that she loves you. And he's like, what? You think I'm straight? It's great. It's so great. But yeah, but Yuri's like, he tells a story about Victor. Like he's been avoiding Victor because he's been afraid that Victor is going to judge him, right? And he's going to be afraid that Victor will see him as weak. And so when they go out and hang out on the shore, Victor kind of opens up to him a little bit, being like, and I like that Victor starts out. Victor's like, hey, you know, these seagulls, they remind me of back home, and here's a little bit about me. So, you know, if you want to reveal a little bit about yourself, go right ahead. And Yuri's like, fine. And I like the story that Yuri tells where he's like, look, he's like, there was this girl that I knew when I was in Detroit, and she just constantly was like trying to like comfort me and like berate me and like, and kind of, he's like, I got agitated by her because she just seemed like she was like, I was weak and I needed her help all the time. And he's like, no, that's not the case. And he's like, my friends back home, like Nishigori and Yuko and them, they don't think I'm weak. They're there to support me, but they have faith that I can do things. I don't need to be held by the hand, right? And so he was afraid that Victor would do the same to him. He's like, I was afraid if I revealed my vulnerabilities to you, you would think I was weak and you try to handhold, and that's not what I want. And so Victor's like, okay. He's like, so how do you view me? Am I like a dad to you? And Yuri's like, no. Am I like a brother or a friend? And Yuri's like, well, he's like, oh, I get it. I'm your lover. And Yuri's like, oh my God. But we all know that, yes. The answer is yes. That is exactly how you all both end up seeing each other. But yeah. And so Victor's like, fine, you can show your vulnerability to me. It's okay. I'll do the same. And I will share my love with you like you share for skating. And it's like, Just the romance, like, just off the charts. Like, yes, it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, so we established also that Yuri has good stamina. Do with that what you will for the fan fictions, but he has good stamina. And so in the program, Victor's like, okay, you can move a lot of your jumps to the latter half because you have enough stamina, you can do it, right? It takes a lot of energy and you can save up enough to be able to do it. And then the hair comment. Oh my God, the hair comment where he's like, he pokes the top of the head and Victor's like, it's getting thinner, isn't it? And he's like, no, it's very thick and very full, right? He's like, you've wounded me. I love that. I love that Victor is like, it's getting thin, isn't it? And the same voice actor in the Japanese dub, the voice actor for Victor is the same as Jeha from Yona, which is wonderful. I'm like, okay. And it's the same, I think, as Sukuna from Jujutsu Kaisen. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's right. I think so. I think the same voice actor for Victor is Jeha as well as Sukuna in Jujutsu Kaisen. So yeah, it's just, I just picture Sukuna saying, you've wounded me. I'll never recover. It's like, but yeah, the whole idea of age and your body changing and being a professional figure skater is something that's brought up in this episode, and we'll touch base on it in a second. But the hair comment always slays me. And then Huckleberry is actually away from home right now. I've got him. I just came back from vacation. I haven't picked him up tonight. I'm doing that tomorrow. But usually if I rewatch the series and that dog gets stepped on by... Yuri stepped on the dog as he's climbing into bed with Victor, but the moment the dog gets stepped on and goes, eh! Usually if Huckleberry's watching with me, he's like, Rah! Like just freaks out. And I was like, oh, and I forgot he's not here tonight. So I was like, oh yeah, he's not here. Okay. But then he talks about the theme changing for his. He gets the music that he wanted. The friend helped recompile the music and rearrange it. It's exactly what he wanted this time. And he changed the theme to On My Love. To My Love. It's like, Yuri and Victor being freaking romantic. It's great. But then we get the assignments. So I love that they explain. I like this show very upfront explains in these 2 episodes, like the scoring. They also explain how the assignments work, that there are 6 different cups. And the top 6 figure skaters get to go to the finals, the Grand Prix finals. But poor Yuri, because he sucked it up last year, has to do the qualifier there in Japan before he can go on to the Cup of China. And they're worried about old Nanami facing up with him, which in the Japanese dub, Nanami is voiced by the same voice actor as Shoyo Ayami. And so I'm curious to see if we get... I don't know who his English dub voice actor is, honestly. It sounds like a woman, honestly, in the English dub, but I could be wrong. It sounds like a woman. I have to look that up before we watch episode 5 and 6. But yeah, we have the qualifiers. And then I like that in these last few moments, you have Yuri and Yurio reflecting. And Yuri's like, he's like, some things have changed. And we get that image of Yuko and Nishigori and him watching figure skating. He's like, some things have changed. Like, it's cut from them being on equal playing field to him being the pro skater. He's like, some things are the same. Like, him still getting up, him still practicing. But he's like, now that I'm with Victor, it's a totally different vibe. And Victor believes in me. And I want to do the very best for him. And it's like, all of the romance. And then he's like, I can clearly see for the first time what's in front of me. And it's like, he's like, I can't change the past, but I can see the future and what all is laid out in front of me. And it's like, And I love that. I love that you have Yuri, who's 23, so he believes he's entering like the twilight years of his career as a figure skater, which is crazy to think that 23 is the twilight years, because Victor's like, what, 25 or 27 or 28, like up there, right? And so he thinks, he's like, I can't change my past, but he's like, I want to keep enjoying every day I can in the future. And then he's like, please, God, let me make the most of my time with Victor that I have as my coach. And I'm like, slay me. But then you have that. So you have Yuri coming from the experience as a seasoned skater who's kind of been through all the motions over the years, and now he's reaching the end, versus Yurio, who's just starting his senior debut. And I love that comment about Yurio, who's 15, versus Yuri, who's 23. There's that solid, what is it, 8 years of difference between the two of them. And Yurio's like, I need to keep being able to do this routine now before my body starts changing. Because that's the thing, too. Like, Yurio's 15, so he's just now getting into puberty. Like, in the next few years, his body is going to develop, and he's going to either get maybe taller or stockier. He's going to be more masculine, perhaps. He's like, I need to take advantage of my body while it's limber and kind of lithe and flexible like it is now, because it's going to start changing. And I don't know how that's going to affect my flexibility in the way that I can move around like I do as this prima ballerina in the moment. So it would be curious if they did a season 2 to see Yurio's body changing, like him develop as a skater. That would be interesting. Like to see what his adult body ends up being. That would be very curious. I don't know if we'll get anything like that, but I like that both Yuri and Yurio are like, let's make the most of the time we have now. For Yuri, it's the time he has with Victor. For Yurio, it's the time that he has in this state of being. Like, they both are expressing how they want to take advantage of the moment and what they have in front of them. So that's pretty cool. But yeah. But yeah, these 2 episodes are great. They're great setup episodes. We're not getting into the meat of the competition yet. Once we get into the actual competitions and start meeting the other characters and seeing the routine start to develop, like that stuff I'm looking forward to the most. But these 2 episodes here were just like setting up that base rivalry between Yuri and Yurio. And it kind of makes sense. It's called Yuri on Ice. I like that this is not just Yuri's story. It's also Yurio's. Like, Yuri grows and develops throughout this series and we follow him, but we also get insight into Yurio and his entire journey as well. So it's cool to see them both side by side for the most part throughout this series. But yeah, these episodes are great. I'm not going to lie, though. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season even more. So I'm curious to know what you guys thought of this rewatch, what you guys thought about these 2 episodes. They're so good, but I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. I hope you all enjoyed this reaction discussion. But yeah, next week we're going to get into the qualifiers and the Cup of China. I'm excited. You can see Peachy, you can see Nanami. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I will be back next week with episodes 5 and 6 of Yuri on Ice. Bye.